Up. I already did a part one to this on LeBron James winning 4 regular season MVPs and no more. I've already had my position. You can watch part one down below, but I've stated LeBron James at 4 regular season MVPs throughout his 17, 18 years in the NBA career is exactly where he needs to be. I don't want to hear this notion that LeBron James deserves 7, 8, 9 MVPs, so on and so forth. I don't want to hear that. In part one, I did a breakdown of all the years LeBron James was in the NBA, and he deserves 4 regular season MVPs. He's exactly where he needs to be. I don't want to hear anything about 7, 8, anything above. Now, we're going to jump here with Greeny. Going to go more in depth about how LeBron James and Michael Jordan, how MJ has 5, LeBron has 4, and the whole structure, the whole NBA and the media voting in. I'll give my take more on here.
On MVP and NBA being a disappointing award. It's not the award it should be. And here's why. When we start counting up how great a player was, when you start comparing players, let's use Michael Jordan and LeBron James. They're the most oft compared players. And the number that everyone always brings up, of course, is rings. Jordan has 6 and LeBron has 4. You can bring up finals MVPs. And those matter. You get your team to the championship, you win the title, and you were the best player in the finals. That matters a lot. What shouldn't matter is regular season MVPs. And that disappoints me because that should be an important award. It should be an incredibly important award. But Michael Jordan won 5 regular season MVP awards. Michael Jordan was the best player in the NBA for 15 years. He was only given that award 5 times. It is not an accurate reflection or representation of how good he was. And Hembo gave me some numbers to back that up. There's a statistic called win shares that basically gives out credit for team success to individuals. What was your win share?
To cover about Michael Jordan and his MVPs, he got 5 altogether. Now, realistically, Michael Jordan should have probably got around 7 or so. We can go a little more detail into those. The 2 years, if I would have said to add into that 7 overall, would have been into the 1993 NBA season and the 1997 NBA season. So 93, he just went back-to-back NBA championships, and MJ lost to quote-unquote Charles Barkley. Now, we're looking into the 1993 NBA season. The Chicago Bulls had a 57-25 record. They were second in the Eastern Conference, right behind the New York Knicks. Now, they gave it to Charles Barkley due to the Phoenix Suns having the #1 record in all of basketball with the 62-20 record. And he had a breakout season with the Phoenix Suns. So due to voter fatigue, which MJ, he already had 3 under his belt, they wanted to give it off to pretty much Charles Barkley and that crew. Now, overall, it can go either way on that. I believe Michael Jordan finished around 3rd in voting within that season. Before looking into the 1997 NBA season, Michael Jordan had already had 4 NBA championships under his belt, and he already had 4 regular season MVPs because Michael Jordan won the season before in 1996 when they won 72 games overall, NBA record at that time. In the 1997 NBA season, Karl Malone actually won it over Michael Jordan, which was pretty outrageous with the Chicago Bulls and MJ. They won 69 games, tied for second greatest of all time. And MJ, of course, had his career numbers usually on a back-to-back season basis. So 97 should have gone to MJ, not Karl Malone out there. But I'll give him on that. Overall, MJ on my book should have around 6 or 7 overall. Now, some people can kind of claim that there are some picky seasons that MJ should have won some more MVPs under the belt. My position is going to be for 1997, of course, when Karl Malone won it over him. And then you can make a good case for 1993 when Charles Barkley won it, but I'm not gonna go too much into 1993 because Barkley and the crew had the best record in basketball and he had a breakout season. So I'm not mad about that one. 97, that's something you got to bat your eye on as on that part.
In win shares, every full season he played from 1987 through 1997. He led the league in scoring in every one of those seasons, too. In 87, he was the best player in the NBA. He averaged 37 points a game, and he finished second behind Magic Johnson in the MVP. In 89, he was the best player in the NBA. He finished second behind...
Well, wait. The 1987 NBA season, Magic Johnson won it, and MJ was at second voting. But listen, MJ, even though he was averaging 35 to 37 points a game that season, the Chicago Bulls were an 8th seed with a 40-42 record. Now, no one else on his team would average around 13 or 15 points and above, but listen, if you're an 8th seed and you have a losing record, you're not going to win the MVP. I don't care if it's your 3rd season or 4th in the NBA. That's not going to happen. So, no on that, Mr. Greening.
Magic Johnson in the MVP. 1990, he was the best player in the NBA. Finished third behind Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley. 93, he was the best player in the NBA. Finished third behind Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon. 97, he was the best player. Finished second behind Karl Malone. Let me say this again. He led the NBA every full season he played from 87 through 97 in win share and led the league in scoring in every one of those seasons. And was only named the MVP 5 times? So what does that award mean? We're just giving it out. It's just a narrative. He didn't win one, give him one. He didn't win. What's the old Oprah thing? You get an MVP. You get an MVP. You got a triple-double, you get an MVP.
No. If you want to break down each season, then you go ahead, which you haven't really made the case for. We can break this down a little more. I've done more with LeBron James. We can go into MJ. MJ started in 1984 with the NBA draft. His first season was into 85. That's when Larry Bird won that award, which was Larry Bird's second. The next following season, Larry Bird won his 3rd overall, which was back-to-back in the Michael Jordan era within that. The Chicago Bulls had a losing record the first 2 seasons. Now, MJ was a young pup. He was a young star in the making. But you're not going to win MVP if you have a losing record in basketball. That's not happening, especially you're in the era of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. The 1988, so for his 3rd season for MJ, 1987, Magic Johnson won that award. We already went towards that. We already covered that. MJ's 3rd season when Magic won in 87. They had a 40-42 record for the Chicago Bulls. MJ was 2nd in MVP voting, but they were 8th overall in the Eastern Conference standings. You're not going to win the MVP. That's the case. Now, Michael Jordan's 4th season, in 1988, he actually won his first MVP award with the Chicago Bulls. So we can skip that one. When you have 1989 and 1990, you did have Magic Johnson win those 2 awards in the NBA. And I'm not mad about those at all. I'm not. Because it was still Magic Johnson's era. Even though Michael Jordan was the main guy out in basketball. And some were quoting that he is potentially the best basketball player out there. It was still Magic Johnson's era, running with Larry Bird. Now, it was at the end of his era. We already knew during that time period when it came to 1988 through 1990, you had the Detroit Pistons, you had the LA Lakers, and the Philadelphia 76ers were among the top teams out there. Chicago Bulls were up in the making, who would get bounced in the 2nd round or the conference finals. Now, breaking into the 1991 NBA season, that was when Michael Jordan won his first NBA championship, and let alone his 2nd overall MVP. We're into 1992. Michael Jordan won the championship, but he did win that regular season MVP. So we're pretty much consistent and good as it is. This narrative is far-fetched about the media that they've been screwing LeBron James and Michael Jordan. 1993, you can make a case for MJ, of course, but Charles Barkley pretty much was quote-unquote one of the players of the year alongside MJ, and they had the best record in basketball. So I get their position, voter fatigue, not too much on 93 for me. 94, 95, MJ was out. He retired, and he came back the last 15 games or so in 1995. So of course he's not going to win that award. 96, MJ came back into the league. He won the MVP, winning 72 games out there. 1997, now with Karl Malone winning that one. Now of course, people were outlashed about that. So Michael Jordan should have won that one. 98, Michael Jordan's quote-unquote last season with the Bulls, he won the MVP. So pretty much as we kind of dissected each of these seasons, each of these years, Michael Jordan should have around 6 to 7 regular season MVPs all time in his making. I don't want to hear about 8, 9, 10, 11. Nah.
What does it mean? Well, the last time LeBron James won the MVP was 2013. That's a different lifetime ago.
And as LeBron James should have. LeBron James, after 2013, should have not, and he never did win another regular season MVP. LeBron James at 4 regular season MVPs is exactly where he needs to be. Greeny, if you want to go year by year, we'll cover year by year like I did in part 1. But LeBron James, even though he's been the best basketball player since those years, does not negate him to being the MVP of the season.
The whole 4 seasons he was in Cleveland, he never once won the MVP. You're telling me he wasn't the best player in the league? He was the best player in the league all 4 of those.
The best player of the year does not negate to being the regular season MVP. It's pretty simple for the regular season MVP standards for media. You pretty much have to be the player of the year award, not only due to narrative, due to performance, impact, being the number 1 guy leading your team to success, and being one of the most valuable players out there. It's a mixture of MVP, of impact, let alone player of the year award.
There have been 5 players who've won the award since last LeBron did. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry twice, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Giannis twice. No disrespect to any of them. I'm glad they're all MVPs. They're all great players. But you made an interesting analogy, Hembo, to me, which is in boxing, there's the concept of the lineal champion.
Right.
And well, I'll make it for you here because I don't have a lot of time. So I'll just basically paraphrase what I think you were telling me. Was that if someone is the champion for 10 consecutive years, they remain the champion. Even if someone else wins 4 fights and they only won 2, they weren't necessarily the best fighter that year, but they don't lose the championship belt. LeBron James is the lineal champion. He's the best player in the sport. It's not debatable. He has been for some period of time. The last time there could be any reasonable argument, I think, would be when Kobe finished winning his title. So what was the last Kobe title? 09, 2010, whatever year he won the last one with
2010.
2010, back to back.
That's all. 2010. So for the last 11 years, there's been no debate that LeBron James is the best player in the NBA. So starting in 11, how many MVPs has he won?
Just 2.
2.
12 and 13.
So in an 11-year period, it's actually 12. Well, this one hasn't happened yet. In an 11-season period, he's been named the MVP twice. And he's been the best player in the league the entire time. So it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, of course it makes sense too, because you're not covering a year-by-year basis. You know, you have a lot of people out here, media fans or whatnot on social media. They just give their two-dimensional hot takes. They hear these big names, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and of course they're going to say they deserve more MVPs. Now, if you're a three-dimensional thinker and you cover year by year, like I was doing with MJ probably should have around 6 to 7. 5, it is what it is on that part. But for LeBron James deserves, and he has 4. He's exactly where he needs to be. And, you know, let me actually cover as of right now to kind of get on my basis here. Listen, LeBron James was drafted in 2003. In 2004 NBA season, in the 2005 NBA season, LeBron's first 2 seasons, he had losing records. He did not make the NBA playoffs. Now, his second season, I believe he had around a 40 and 42 record, and they just lost. They were the 9th seed, and they almost got into the playoffs. But listen, you're not going to win MVP by that. In the 2004-2005 season, Kevin Garnett won it. And 2005, it was Steve Nash. Now we're looking into 2006. This is LeBron James's first NBA playoff appearance, losing in the second round to the Detroit Pistons. Steve Nash won that award. But during that time period, there was debates of Steve Nash and Shaquille O'Neal. So LeBron James was not even in the top 2 conversation. We'll skip that year. In 2007, Dirk Nowitzki won that award. Now, there was debates of Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James into 2007. Dirk Nowitzki won that award full-heartedly. The Dallas Mavericks had a 67-15 record, number 1 in basketball, number 1 in Dallas Mavericks team history of being that high up in the hierarchy of the NBA. Dirk Nowitzki was a Player of the Year award, dominating with the Mavericks at an unbelievable scene. So LeBron James, no. Now we'll go into the 2008 NBA season. Kobe Bryant won that award full-heartedly. Now there was debates of LeBron James in the mix, Dwayne Wade, so on and so forth. Those LA Lakers, during that time period, it was Kobe Bryant's breakout season to actually being that true contender within his team and franchise. Now in the 2008 NBA season with LeBron James and the crew, where did they finish? I believe they were around a 4th seed. Yes, they were a 4th seed. They lost to the Boston Celtics in that second round with the big 3 Boston Celtics. Kobe Bryant full-heartedly deserved that award. Now we'll get into the years of LeBron James coming in here. 2009, 2010, LeBron won his first 2 MVPs. We all agree on that. 2011, Derrick Rose won it, and he should have won it. LeBron James was second in that MVP voter race. You did have the time. This was his first season going to Miami, so you already had the narrative that media and fans did not like LeBron James. Now, that's not an excuse, but you did have the Miami Heat, who should have had the best record in basketball. They had a slow start to the NBA season. They finished with a second record in the Eastern Conference. And the Chicago Bulls, with the young Derrick Rose, youngest, he came out of nowhere with those Chicago Bulls. And within that Bulls team, they got the number 1 record in the NBA. And he had a breakout season. Derrick Rose deserved that award. The next 2 seasons, LeBron James won it in 2012 and 2013. No debate there. 2014, Kevin Durant won that award. LeBron James was second in MVP voting, as should be. It was a pretty close award, but Russell Westbrook missed around 20 to 30 games. KD was the leading scorer in the NBA during that time period. He had to put the team on his back, and he got his team, the Thunder, to a second seed in the Western Conference. That was a much-deserved Player of the Year award and MVP to Kevin Durant. Let's see here. 2015 and 2016, Steph Curry. In 2015, that's when LeBron James went his first season back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the top 2 players in the MVP voting for 2015 was Steph Curry against James Harden. The Warriors came out of nowhere. Most people had them finishing as a 5th seed in the preseason, and they actually had a 67-15 record, best record in basketball. Steph Curry came out of nowhere and changed the game. James Harden lost Dwight Howard for around 30 to 40 games, and Harden put the team on his back for a second record in the Western Conference, which most people expected those Rockets to finish around the 8th seed or so, or potentially even missing the playoffs. So it was all Curry against Harden. LeBron was not even that in the equation. So I don't want to hear about 2015. Nah. 2016, Steph Curry, unanimous MVP. No one was even close to being second on his list. So we're going to skip that. So as of so far, it's been around 3 seasons or so. LeBron James has not won an MVP. And we're all consistent as it is. Where are we at here? 2017, it was either against Russell Westbrook and James Harden. That's when you had KD leave his team. Russ had his team to a 46-36 record, 6th seed in the Western Conference. Harden was pretty much the MVP that season. For majority of the beginning to the middle, Russ came out of nowhere with triple-doubles. Night in, night out basis. He hit game winners against like the Denver Nuggets. And the whole story narrative was on Russell Westbrook. Towards the end of the season, that's when people started to really accept the fact that it's going to be Russell Westbrook. So he took that from James Harden. That was a very close award. That could have gone to either Russ or Harden. LeBron James was not even top 2 in that conversation. And you got to remember, when LeBron James went back to Cleveland, there was chaos and anarchy. Night in, night out, first take, and you see these shows, it was always something with the Cavaliers, man. Tyronn Lue, have to go to the hospital, take off, breaks due to mental anguish with LeBron James. Kyrie Irving requesting trades. It was chaos out there, man. And speaking of that, the 2018 NBA season, that's the same thing. LeBron James traded his whole team, basically. And that team would lose night in, night out against the Blazers, against the Lakers, with those young pups. In the 2018 season, James Harden won that award easily. No one was not even on the level of James Harden in 2018, which he got his Houston Rockets to number 1 seed in the Western Conference. You're sitting at around a 65-17 record. James Harden was the Player of the Year award, the MVP, and that was his first regular season MVP. So now as we're looking, Mr. Greeny, been around 5 or 6 seasons that LeBron hasn't won the MVP. And much deservedly, he did not win it. 2019, he missed the playoffs. He got injured for around a month and a half or so. So we're going to cross that off. 2020, or where are we at here? Yeah, 2020. Or actually, in 2019, when LeBron missed the playoffs, it was against Giannis and James Harden. That was a pretty close one, but Giannis deserved it much heartily. He deserved it. The 2020 season was against Giannis and LeBron James. Giannis was dominating pretty much for the first the first quarter or the first half, LeBron James kind of came not out of nowhere, but he defeated the Bucks and the Clippers in the same back-to-back outings. And LeBron was making a good case, but COVID hit. And the last 8 games of the bubble to start off the new season, or start off the season, LeBron James did not perform as well in those playoffs, not the playoffs, but the bubble. And Giannis was dominating. So the 2020 MVP award, much deserved to Giannis, and especially he won the Defensive Player of the Year. Now the 2021 NBA season, we've seen it's going to be up in there. It's probably going to be Jokic or Embiid, and LeBron's been out. So Mr. Greeny, I've listed all the years pretty much in LeBron's career. LeBron at 4 is exactly where he needs to be. But overall, LeBron at 4, exactly where he needs to be. I don't want to hear this two-dimensional hot take talk about how LeBron James deserved 8 or 9 or 10. You can talk year in, year out, and we can cover these, which I already cover the players. Give the respect to Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Russ, James Harden, and Giannis because they deserve those awards easily. I don't want to hear about this talk about the media has narratives to where they'll sway and steal awards. The past decade and a half or so has been consistent when it comes down to these MVP rankings and these awards. Michael Jordan, you can make a really good case for one more MVP or two in that mix. LeBron James, none. So, cover it on there.